Welcome to Nation of Animation, a cartoon book club podcast for all ages. I'm Brooke Aaron Smith.
And I'm Ryan Stevens. And we are your hosts for Nation of Animation.
Woohoo!
Currently going through an excellent first introduction.
It's going great.
It is. I have no complaints so far. The reviews are in. The fans love us pretty universally so far, so I think we should be proud of that.
If the fans mean my 5 dogs, yes, that is true.
Then what more could we want, honestly?
Sure.
What higher honor, what higher accolades than the approval of dogs? Anyway, I think this is good. So welcome to the podcast. This is our first episode. Every week we will be talking about a different animated series or film. Sometimes we'll talk about movies too, because cartoons can be long. Yeah. But this week, for our first episode, for our maiden voyage into podcastdom, we are talking about Bob's Burgers. Ta-da!
Is that the theme song?
That's the classic theme song we all know and love.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
They should hire me to do it from now on.
They should. Big changes coming to season 12.
Mm-hmm. Bob's Burgers. Love Bob's Burgers. One of my very favorite television shows out right now or ever. So I'm very thrilled about this.
Me too. I'm a big fan. I first learned about it my freshman year of college when a friend of mine was like, you gotta watch the show Bob's Burgers. It's so good. It's a shame they canceled it after one season. She was unaware that there were multiple seasons still going on. So that was a fun surprise when I learned it was not canceled after one season. Because it's not. It's still going on.
Like a Christmas there.
Surprise. So how it works is every week for our episodic episodes, for when we talk about shows that have episodes and aren't one movie, we'll be talking about a few specific episodes we chose and have notes on, and then we will sort of compare notes and talk about these standout episodes that we think are emblematic of the show as a whole. Do you think that's fair to say, Brooke?
Yeah, sure.
Great. So let's learn a little more about the background of Bob's Burgers. Brooke, what can you tell me about what Bob's Burgers is?
I can tell you so much.
Please
Both
do.
Things I always knew and things I learned this week as I was doing research on the show. So Bob's Burgers, it began airing in 2011. So it's been almost 10 years of Bob's, which is, that's sort of a feat. Created by Loren Bouchard. Loren Bouchard is also famous for several shows I have not seen, like Dr. Katz, Professional Therapist, Home Movies, Lucy, Daughter of the Devil. Have you seen any of these?
I have not. Home Movies is a show that every time I see a clip for it, I'm like, this is extremely funny. And I think I would like it a lot. So I think it's going to be my long-term project for this show is to track down how to watch all the episodes of Home Movies without paying for any additional streaming services, without doing anything easy or straightforward to find them. Because it sounds like a good show. It also has H. John Benjamin in the cast, so he and Lauren seem like pals.
As many Loren Bouchard shows do. It also seems like Lucy, Daughter of the Devil would be right up your alley, so I'm very surprised you haven't watched that.
I'm entranced by the name. I'm intrigued, so we'll see.
Well, she's Lucy and she's the daughter of the devil,
Perfect.
So that's all you need to know.
Okay, I'm sold.
So Bob's Burgers, it follows the lives of the Belcher family. That's the mom and dad, Bob and Linda, and then the 3 kids, Tina, Jean, and Louise. They run a burger restaurant right by the Wonder Wharf, so they live on a seaside town, and it's called Bob's Burgers.
Hey, that's the name of the show.
That's the name of the show. They said the name of the show. Yes. It's part of the Animation Domination block on Fox currently. Right now, that has The Simpsons, American Dad, Bless the Hearts, and Duncanville. Soon, though, they are adding a show called The Great North, which is also made. It's created by the Molyneux sisters, Lizzie and Wendy, who I absolutely love. They are writers on Bob's Burgers and executive producers. And I think The Great North is being executive produced by Bob's creator, Loren Bouchard. So that'll be super cool. I have my eyes on that.
Keep your ears open for a Great North special.
You can also watch it in syndication. I believe it's still on Adult Swim. You can catch it on TBS. We've been binging all week on Hulu, so you can catch it many places.
Bob's Burgers used to be on Netflix, and then it jumped to a different service.
Oh my gosh. I remember when they took it off, and I didn't have Hulu yet.
Heartbreaking.
My whole world rocked. I fall
Earth-shattering.
asleep to Bob's Burgers every night. It's the only thing I watch.
It's so strange. This is a digression, but with streaming stuff, whenever a show leaves one, it is a real, like, it's been canceled again. Like, what do you mean I can't watch Bob's Burgers again on Netflix? Or, like, when The Office inevitably leaves Netflix to go to Peacock or whatever, it's going to hit a lot of people hard, I think, because it's no longer where we thought it would be.
I mean, sure. Every person from your high school who loves to post on Facebook's favorite show is The Office.
Of course.
So I really don't know what they're going to do.
It's going to be a tough time. A long, dark night of the soul for America.
So yeah, that's just like a little history on Bob's. We can talk a little bit more about like, this is, the inception or whatever. So in 2011, when it started, if you saw reviews came out then, it was sort of a rocky start for them. They got like mid-level reviews, which might be why your friend thought it had been canceled. I don't know, like, because it wasn't doing like great review-wise. And we can talk about later, and I know I will, you probably will too, our opinions like on why that is. Because now, it's super highly reviewed. It's very acclaimed. It has 91% approval on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's won the Emmy twice for Outstanding Animated Program. So, I mean, they've really hit like their stride. And they're like right now, as we're recording this will change probably when this comes out, but they're just about to hit the 200th episode.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
You go, Bob's Burgers.
Yeah. And I can't say enough how much I love Bob's Burgers. It's about the family running the restaurant, but then you've got like this huge cast of recurring characters and then guest stars who come on, and it's just the best. I love Bob's.
It's a great show with like a really strong ensemble. I mean, the family is clearly the key characters. They are the leads, obviously, and their relationships are why we keep coming back. But the whole like area of Wonder Wharf and all their neighbors and friends and family members, it is this really rock solid world full of interesting characters. Inevitably we'll probably do an episode on like The Simpsons, which has a similar enormous like cast of characters. I think Bob's Burgers matches that scope of everyone in this world is interesting and entertaining and like has at least one good episode of story in them somewhere. So when minor characters come back, like Bill Hader plays a character named Mickey who like tried to rob a bank in an episode called Bob Day Afternoon.
Mickey!
Yeah, he comes back several times and it's like really funny and he feels like a fully realized character even though he was really, I would guess, meant to be a one-off guest, and then they found reasons to bring the character back. So it makes the whole universe feel really real and lived in.
Sure. And then we've got Larry Murphy who plays Teddy. I mean, he plays tons of people on the show, but Teddy is also, like a main cast member. Mm-hmm. He's not like a guest star, he's credited as the main cast in every episode. Along with H. John Benjamin, who plays Bob, John Roberts, who plays Linda, Eugene Merman, who plays Gene, Dan Mintz, who plays Tina, and then Kristen Shaw, who plays Louise.
Good cast, good group.
Good cast, good cast.
This show gives the Bob's Burgers cast 2 thumbs up. Finally.
So yeah,
finally some good press for them.
That's a little bit about Bob's. And then obviously some of those actors, a lot of people have seen other places like Kristen Shaw. She's in Gravity Falls, which we'll talk about eventually, which I also love. And then like H. John Benjamin from Wet Hot American Summer, and then a million other things.
Archer and home movies and all sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So what, Ryan, if you were to say like in like 5 words, what you love about Bob's Burgers, what would you say?
Earnest, funny, family dynamic cartoon. I feel like I wasted that 5th word because obviously it's a cartoon. But if I was pitching it to someone who'd never heard of it, I think that'd be important to say. So I'm going to stand.
Sure. And if you love, that it's a cartoon and not live action, that's important. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I also definitely love those things about it. And it's just so funny. I will watch episodes that I've seen like 10 times and still just laugh and laugh alone in my room. It's very sad, really, if you were watching from the outside. But to me, it's very fun.
But it's not sad. You're hanging out with your best friends, the Belchers. Your good pal, Tina. Your good pal,
me
Louise.
and Tina.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
We've known each other for years.
Sure. And then, you know, like I do enjoy the animation style too, because it has its own look. You know, it looks different from The Simpsons or from American Dad and Family Guy, which sort of have the same look. You know, it's all 2D, and it's just the way it's drawn seems so indicative of the show itself.
The characters, to me, I've always thought that they kind of look like 2D Muppets. Like the way the mouths move and the way the sort of character silhouettes are pretty continuous. Not many characters have like defined necks, especially not the children. So they all look kind of like they could be made out of felt and could just be puppets sort of flopping around on a soundstage.
Let me tell you, as someone who has kind of a weak chin, I feel so much representation in the Bob's Burgers animation.
Finally, someone sees us.
No one has a chin on that show, and I'm like, me too. We're the same. And then speaking about the animation style, you know, I talked about, you know, it's sort of like simple and 2D and everything, but then they've sort of like branched out with it a little. I'm thinking specifically about the episode Brunch Squatch, which is a wild episode, not in plot, but in that for Brunch Squatch, they took fan art submissions from fans like all over the world and then animated scenes throughout the episode in the style of the fan art that they've been sent in.
It's a fascinating experiment and also a great example of a show like using its fan base fairly, because I'm pretty sure they like compensated all the fan artists and treated them well, and it was a good time was had by all involved. But it really does show that this show likes its fans and enjoys the sort of community, maybe that's a strong word, but like the fan following that is around it. It's that warm and loving show that extends to the fans too.
Sure. And it's like, it's a hard episode to watch kind of, because you get sort of like whiplash, you know, when they switch between everything. But they've kept the plot sort of simple in that one. Like the kids want to get a dog and they're trying to find out how to get a dog, which helps a lot. And then John Early is in that episode as Dame Judy Brunt.
This show has a lot of
so
puns.
Funny.
This show crams in a lot of puns anywhere they can find them, which I personally appreciate.
Yeah, me too. And John Early is a Tennessean, just like I am. So Tennesseans represent.
Fun Brooke fact number 1 as we begin to unravel the mystery that is Brooke Aaron Smith on this show.
Tennessee, what? Also, you know, and this is just to tack on a little bit to the fan art and to show how much they really do appreciate fan artists. Simon Chong, who is now an animator and a director on the show, got that job through an animation video he did. It was like an Archer and Bob's Burgers fan vid, and it was so cool. And Loren Bouchard saw that on Twitter and offered him a job, and now he's directing episodes. He directed the first episode of season 11.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I just think that's so cool. And, you know, not to foreshadow, we do have our issues with some stuff that goes on Bob's, and we'll talk about that later. But right now, it's all sunshine and rainbows.
This show, Nation of Animation, isn't afraid to ask the hard questions. We're not afraid to get serious about our cartoon shows, but not till later. For now, we're going to have some fun.
Yeah. So I just wanted, you know, we talked about what we're going to do. So we each picked 2 episodes that we feel like these episodes are, you know, they represent the show to discuss and sort of dissect and everything. Would you like me to go first?
Please do.
I'd love to. And it makes sense that I'm going first because the first episode I picked is season 1, episode 1.
The beginning.
Human Flesh.
Great name for a pilot. Great name for a first episode of something.
Yeah. So this was written by Loren Bouchard and Jim Dotrieve, which is interesting because as the series goes on, Loren has like written less, you know, less episodes. So that's been interesting to me. I don't have like an opinion on that really, but I just thought it was interesting. So this episode, a little bit of what happens. This is Bob's Burgers' grand reopening. They've had like fires and rodents and stuff, and you'll see that in the title sequence. Bob thinks it's a big day for burgers, and it's also Bob and Linda's anniversary, which Bob has forgotten. And Linda says, "How are you going to forget? It's 9-3. 9 is divisible by 3.
To which Bob reminds her that many numbers are divisible by 3, which is not a great excuse, but it is like a funny one.
I want you to say it as Bob, Ryan, if you're ready to roll out your
I
Bob
used to have
impression.
a pretty good Bob. I wouldn't say it's great, but it was all right. Let me practice. And if this
Do you want me to lead you in?
Yeah, lead
Do you
me in
want
a
me
little bit.
give you the line?
Linda.
Bob, it's 9-3. 9 is divisible by 3.
Lynn, a lot of numbers are divisible by 3. What? That's not the line from the show, but that's the essential joke.
Sure. You did all right. It was
Tina,
okay.
Tina, oh my God. Anyway, that's one of my favorite jokes. There's an episode where Bob is training Tina to drive, and she's characteristically terrible at it. And so there's a scene.
I can't watch that episode.
Where
it gives me like PTSD to when I backed into people's cars.
There's a sustained sequence of Tina slowly driving towards a parked car, and Bob just repeatedly shouting his daughter's name. Tina, please, Tina, turn the wheel.
Yeah, that's another great episode. We're
not
talking about that
Human
one
Flesh,
today, but that's a good one. Yeah, so in Human Flesh, so where the title comes from, the health inspectors come to threaten to shut them down because Louise told her whole class that the burgers contain human flesh that they get from the mortuary next door run by a mortician. So I watched the episode before I wanted to talk about it, and then I also did a little research on it, and I thought this was super interesting. The show was originally pitched as a family of cannibals who sells human meat in their restaurant.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and Fox said, "This is too dark. Do not do this."
Okay, but that was in like 2011. Maybe we could have that show now. I would love to see the Cannibal Family, but anyway.
And also, Tina was originally a boy named Daniel. But also voiced by Dan Mintz. So
they couldn't let him go.
Yeah, he would not have lost his job, which was great. So this episode, it's the very beginning of the show. We're getting an introduction to everybody, the Belchers and then Mort, who is their neighbor. And then we also get the introduction of 2 recurring characters that come back a lot. So that's Ron, voiced by Ron Lynch, and Hugo, the health inspector, voiced by Sam Sater. Ron is his assistant. Interestingly, Teddy is not in this episode. He comes in the next one, which is Crawl Space. Which is sort of good because then Teddy gets his own sort of introduction because he's become such a big part of the series.
There's a lot going on in Human Flesh. It's okay to let someone else wait.
Yeah, so it's an interesting episode. It's a kind of a harsh episode. It's not my favorite episode, but I want to talk about it because it's the first episode. There's a really famous line from this one, which is, "You're my children and I love you, but you're all terrible at what you do." And it's like, okay.
It's a rough thesis statement for a show about a family. And it definitely sets up a certain kind of expectation for their dynamic.
Yeah, definitely. And then it also sort of puts the trope of Bob as the forgetful husband who can't remember the anniversary. And then, there's some gross out humor in this one. Like Tina says at the beginning that her crotch is itchy and then she's the grill cook.
There's also a bit Hugo comes in and Bob and Linda are downstairs in the basement grinding up meat to make hamburgers, as you would do at a burger place. And Hugo asks Louise where her parents are, and she says they're in the basement grinding. That's not a euphemism. They're really grinding meat. And she humps the air. She does a pelvic thrust, and it's okay, what are we doing here?
Yeah, and then I can't not talk about the most questionable joke, I think, of this episode, which is
rough.
It was rough. So Bob writes a burger of the day every day if you haven't seen the show, and it's usually something special. And Louise likes to mess with it and change it.
And it's usually a pun. It's usually a silly, baby, you can drive my chard burger. It comes with chard or whatever.
It's usually pretty nice. And Louise has changed it to the child molester burger, parenthesis, comes with candy.
And then they take the time to explain the joke. It is an uncomfortable 30 seconds of screen time.
Yeah. And Bob says that Louise should not deliver that burger to the person who ordered it because he doesn't want her to get molested, and then says Jean should do it. And it's ugh.
It's bad. It's
yeah, it was rough.
Peak 2011 the Hangover movie sense of humor.
Yeah. And I think it's because, to me, it seemed like they were pulling from shows like Family Guy or American Dad or The Simpsons, which were sort of more cynical shows than what Bob's has become over time. Which makes sense a little to me because, they were picked up by Fox, who produced all of those shows.
Right. Yeah, there's this cruelty to some of the jokes in this first episode that thankfully does not persist.
And, we talked about middling reviews at the beginning. And to me, in my mind, obviously, that's part of it. It was at times just so cynical that it was like, oh, this hurts my heart.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the series has gone on, they've found a really great balance, I think, between like the cynicism and then just the love that the family has for each other and the genuine humor,
Mm-hmm.
which has been really great and I think has really helped the show and made it its own thing outside of something like Family Guy.
Right. Yeah, there is. I mean, the word I used in the 5-word thing was like earnest, and I think that's what when Bob's Burgers really hits its groove. It does have this very like not overly optimistic and not like sugary sweet Disney Channel movies. Everything's gonna be fine, hug it out kindness, but it does have a real close eye on like what about this family keeps them together and like what is enjoyable to be around any of them, even when they are getting on each other's nerves.
Mm-hmm. And I think even in this first episode, we still subvert like the tropes that Family Guy, American Dad, The Simpsons play off of a little bit because a big thing is that Linda was engaged to Hugo, the health inspector, and broke it off to be with Bob. And Linda talks about how good of a kisser Hugo was and that Bob is not.
Mm.
But at the end, it shows that like Bob has gone online and looked up like kissing tips and tries them out on Linda on this like beautiful Ferris wheel overlooking the wharf.
Mm-hmm.
And even that is like, you know, sort of very earnest and like, oh, we're dealing with something a little different here. Like a man who is willing to learn to satisfy his partner.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. And what's crucial is that he actually does, as we'll discuss in a little bit in your second episode, Bob actually does get better, not just in the like in fiction world of the show, but just as he's written. Because other shows, like we've mentioned, like other animated sitcoms, will have, you know, Peter Griffin appear to learn a lesson at the end of the episode, but the next week he's still a jerk again, and like nothing actually changes. Bob's Burgers actually lets its characters get nicer, and it doesn't just like let it be like a nice moment at the end of an episode. It lets the whole dynamic get softer and more pleasant to be around.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, I think this one is a great contrast with the other episode I'm going to talk about, which is another anniversary episode. It's also a season premiere of season 10, The Ring, but Not Scary. I'll get to that in a minute. But I'm excited to look at those together because they're both similar, but show a lot of growth for Bob and for the family. I will say for this one, like, you know, because we had sort of been writing down, these were jokes I liked in this episode. Mm-hmm. And this one, there were not a lot for me, which, speaks to the cynicism of it and stuff. But there was one that did really make me laugh. Hugo and Bob have just gotten into a fight, and then Hugo is making Bob back his car. Like, Hugo is making Bob help him back his van out of a tight spot. Mm-hmm. And he just keeps telling him how to do it. And he's like, no, you're too close. No. And then eventually he says, just get out.
Just get out and let me do it. Yeah.
And I just thought that was so funny. So that's my number one joke from Human Flesh.
One joke and I'm not proud that I laughed at this, but there is a bit where it's one of the act breaks where Hugo believes that they're selling human flesh. So he puts a big like disclaimer sign outside the restaurant that says like, this place is suspected of selling human flesh. And one old lady, like there's a whole crowd and they're all obviously shocked, but one lady looks around and says, I'd try it, there's no line. And she like looks around for any other takers. And then this pays off at the end when we find out this lady is a member of like an adventurous eaters club, and a bunch of people are willing to try the human flesh burger, even though of course there is no actual human flesh meat. Bob doesn't tell them this, and he lets them come in and buy burgers for $50 a pop. It's a very funny bit of just some old lady being like, yeah, I mean, sure, I'd try it.
Yeah. And I do think, speaking on the Adventures Eaters Club, it's nice to see that at the end everything works out for the Belchers. They still make money on their grand reopening, which is great.
That is nice. Yeah, it's a good ending. Even if the road we get there is a little rocky at times.
Great. Yeah, so that's, Human Flesh. Not my favorite episode, but an important episode. Yeah. Do you want to go on to my next one?
Let's do.
Great. So the second episode I picked, I said it's sort of a contrast. It's season 10, episode 1, The Ring, but Not Scary. This is written by Lizzie and Wendy Molyneux, who are two of my favorite writers on the series. In season 10, they write another of my favorite episodes, just The Trip, which we're not talking about today, but which I love. So this one, basic plot, Linda is taking the kids to the water park. It's the day before her and Bob's anniversary, so it's 9/2, about to be 9/3. 9 is divisible by 3. Neither Linda nor Bob realize that the kids have found Bob's gift to Linda, which is an engagement ring that he was never able to afford to give her when they got married originally, which is very sweet. But the kids, being who they are, decide to wear the ring out because they can't get it off of Jean's finger. And they're at the park. They lose the ring. They have to sneak back in later to find it. And then the little B plot of this one is that Linda is helping Gail, her sister, put her eye drops in after she gets pink eye from letting her cat sit on her face.
Gail is an interesting recurring character. Would you like to explain a little bit about who Gail is? Gail is?
I love Gail. Gail is Linda's sister. And if I am most like anyone on this show, it is Gail. Gail is so weird. She lives in a studio apartment. She steals cats off the street that live in other people's homes. She's just so funny. And then in the episode where Louise and the kids run away because Louise just doesn't want to get a cavity filled, Gail says that every night before she goes to sleep, she has to make up the story for herself that the apocalypse has happened and she's the only person left on Earth. And I do stuff like that every night before I go to sleep. I will make up these stories. It could be like an apocalypse story, or it could be like, I'm in Victorian England, and here's my servant, and here's my Mr. Darcy-esque character. Oh, and now I can go to sleep peacefully.
Are these characters people in the world, or are they just completely invented?
I make them up.
Okay, good. Okay, so how does that make you feel? Sorry, this whole podcast has been a sham. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, and we're just gonna dive into Brooke's imagination here. That's not true. I'm not a licensed psychotherapist. That was a joke.
Crickets.
I mean, well, we'll edit it out. We'll edit some laughs in. Yeah, this podcast has a laugh track.
Sure. Speaking of guest stars, though, one of my other very favorite guest stars is in this one, Jillian Bell. She plays Nat, the limo driver. We've previously seen her in the episode V for Valentine Detta, where she drove the girls around in a limo for a Valentine's Day trip. And she comes back in just the trip later in the season. She's so weird and funny. And she helps the kids get back into the water park to search for the ring because she knows someone who works there. And she loves Linda. She's a huge fan of Linda. She mentions that. And I love Nat. I love her. Nat
is great. She brings a very curious energy because she's very positive and supportive and matches the kids' levels of willingness to do silly things, but also is an adult in this world. So she behaves in a weird halfway point between the parents and the kids. She also calls Bob Robert exclusively, which is a very
no one else calls him Robert. Only Nat does.
Robert, it'll be okay.
Robert? Yes, I can hear it in my head right now. It's so good. Yeah, so that's the point of the episode. And I mentioned this, I think it's just a great full circle from the first episode. And I think they know that they're doing that. We're at an anniversary. Bob hasn't forgotten it, but Linda has. Mm-hmm. And Bob has planned this beautiful thing. And then the kids fuck it up.
It's rough. It is a rough skit for these kids to go through. It's a rough scheme they do where they lose the ring. And it's just I don't know, this episode's a little tough for me to watch. Just the secondhand anxiety of it and making the parents this angry is really puts my hackles up something fierce. And Bob is frustrated and understandably really mad. He says they're not allowed to come to his funeral when he's dead.
Yeah. And an interesting parallel to the first, you're my family and I love you, but you're all terrible. Bob's like, I've never been this angry. You're all grounded for the rest of your lives, and none of you are allowed to talk to me, and none of you are allowed to come to my funeral.
Really laying down the law.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. It really makes me laugh. And Nat, honestly, helps soften the episode for me. It's everything can't be that bad. The kids can't be in that much trouble because they've got Nat here helping them out.
That's true. That's a good point. She's a good added flavor to change the feel of the whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. I just love her. And then there's some great music in this one. I mean, something that I just don't feel like I even got enough attention in the episode. Teddy thinks that Bob has forgotten the anniversary, so he's made up a song for Bob to sing to Linda. And it goes, Linda, you're so pretty, it's a Cinda. And he stops right there. And it's
a great
so
start.
funny. I just wanted to hear the rest of the song. Like, oh, I love it. And then another great joke. Sorry, I wrote this one down because I love it so much. Bob finds out the kids have gotten the ring. He says, "Where's the ring?" And Jean says, I believe it's you rang. And that's so funny.
Jean gets a lot of like sort of non sequitur lines that feel like sometimes the writers are like, well, Tina and Louise would never say this, so we better just give it to Jean. But I think Eugene Merman's performance really sells it. Like, he always sounds very committed to whatever kind of silly, random thing Jean says. And that's like one example of like, I believe it's you rang is kind of a silly punchline, but Jean really makes it work.
Oh, it just makes me laugh so hard. Another great joke in this one. Nat used to be part of the Puff Divers, which is an all-women scuba and marijuana enthusiast group. That in and of itself is hilarious. And then she says, I miss everything about it, but I got to get up tomorrow morning for the rest of my life. And that makes me laugh.
And then they just move on. It's a great little, like, tells a lot about this character, but we're not going to deal with it right now.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a quintessential Bob's episode. I thought it was a stellar start to season 10, which to me is a very strong season anyway. It has like Pig Trouble and Little Tina in it and just the trip. And I think it's a great season. The kids get into mischief. It makes Bob's lives harder and Bob tries to fix it. And there's great guest stars. And then you've got like the interesting B plot that doesn't overtake the story. And at the end, it's just like, it's all okay because the family loves each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I love that episode. I think it's a great, I think it shows the real strengths of the episode. And AV Club gave it an A-. So I think that was accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there's my 2 episodes, Ryan. Let's go on to yours.
Great. So I picked 2 episodes that deal with the musical side of the show. This show, Bob's Burgers, has a lot of original songs in it, and the cast is very musically talented and gifted. Gene is himself a musician. He frequently plays music and writes songs on this like keyboard.
His little like Casio
keyboard. Yeah, there is also a soundboard that frequently uses like fart sounds in it because they're still kids. And the first episode I want to talk about is season 3, episode 16, Topsy. And this episode is about Louise's attempts to, for the science fair, use the same papier-mâché volcano she used the previous year because her science teacher is someone she knows how to manipulate. Louise as the sort of like mischievous rascal who is rarely ever intimidated by adults. However, the teacher that she thought she was going to have has had a bad case of gout and will not be presiding over the science for this year. Instead, there is a new teacher in town, Mr. Dinkler, played by Mark Prosh, who was also Colin Robinson from What We Do in the Shadows, and he was on The Office in the later seasons. Nate on The Office. Playing against type, really, because Mark Prosh usually plays very like deadpan characters, and here he's really sort of milking the sort of campy, annoying menace of a guy who loves Thomas Edison, because he's playing a science teacher who worships and like impersonates Thomas Edison, and he forces Louise to do a project on Edison instead of the volcano. Louise, emboldened by this, decides to do a revenge project and do a science fair project that will expose Edison for his part in the electrocution of the elephant Topsy to demonstrate the danger of alternative current. So that spirals into making a live performance involving Gene and Louise, Gene as Edison,
Gene and Tina.
I'm so sorry. Gene as Edison, Tina as Topsy the elephant, which then spirals even further because Gene wants to write a song for them. They realize that Gene and Tina cannot sing. Gene tells Tina, what's the exact quote? When they're trying to rehearse the song, Gene says, here's a funny story. You cannot sing. And then he also realizes he himself cannot sing. So they get Gail. Gail is also in this episode, Return of Gail, to sing as Topsy, and Mr. Fischoeder, the family's landlord, played by Kevin Kline, who is an extremely rich, sort of spooky man with a eye patch who dresses in all white and is heavily implied to be the kind of rich guy who would own an island where you hunt people. Is sort of his vibe, but for a kids show. Not for a kids show, but for
this isn't a kids show.
For a family-oriented animated sitcom.
Is it even family oriented? I don't know.
It's got a family in it.
I guess
that's
so.
That's all that's required. Anyway, so Mr. Fischoeder and Gail are going to sing the vocals for this song about Topsy and Thomas Edison, and Gene and Tina are going to lip sync it. Tina is going to fake being electrocuted on stage with the help of Teddy, who has the ability to rig up a complicated and really dangerous looking electric setup to make it look like they're electrocuting an elephant. The whole thing really just spirals out from there because Gene is a romantic. He turns the song into a love duet between Topsy and Edison. Another student who is also doing a project on Edison, rats Louise out, so she is taken away from the project, and instead they get the whole band and chorus section to help out with the song. At the same time, there's a B plot where Bob and Linda, inspired by the kids being in the science fair, get an invention fee for themselves. Bob digs out an old invention of his from when he was in school called Spiceps, which is just like a sort of bandolier one would put on one's biceps to hold spices for ease of access while cooking.
Then Linda does her bra,
Linda
the spice rack.
Bob's Tesla, where Linda steals the invention and makes the spice rack, which is more like a sports bra that also holds spices. True, and they get into
also Billy Eichner is in this episode.
Billy Eichner is also a guest star.
It's Mr. Ambrose.
Ambrose. He's not named in this episode. They just call him Crazy Librarian. He'd be a recurring character later where they would actually name him, but here he's just a conspiratorial librarian who tells the kids to look up Topsy. He tells them to use the internet. Books are stupid. To which Tina says, "I thought they were smart." To which he says, "No, they're stupid," which is a very... he also whispers it because Billy Eichner, being Billy Eichner, his performance is a lot of histrionic shouting and then sudden calm, because that's that guy's whole energy, which is fun. It's good. What else happened in this episode? This episode really is just a sort of exciting plot meant to get us to the final performance of this song that Gene's written, which is called Electric Love. This episode came out near the time that the band Bjorns
put out their song Electric Love. Yes. And this one is the Bob's Burgers Electric Love is better.
The Bob's Burgers Electric Love is incredible. It is really a Broadway level it is really a Broadway level show tune. And they really tease you out because you get snippets of it throughout the episode. You hear them rehearsing and practicing. It's that sounds pretty good. And then they finally do it, and it's a real showstopper. And again, they have the band, and they have a choral section helping out. It's a great moment of just showmanship to close this episode out. And it does end with Tina being worried about getting electrocuted because when they rehearsed it and Tina stepped off the little platform, something went wrong and it blew up the yoga mat she would have been standing on. Thankfully, when they do it again for real, she does not get hurt, but she does faint because she was committed to playing the role of Topsy. Because there is a bit where Tina has a vision of the ghost of Topsy telling her to do the performance, which is a nice moment for Tina, who... this is definitely a Louise episode, but Tina getting this counsel from beyond, from a big elephant, also feels really in character for her.
There is this joke. I wish I had written it down so I get the words exactly right, but Tina's like, well, it did say Topsy trampled 3 people, and Louise says, well, yeah, she's a big fat elephant.
Yeah, what can she do? Yeah.
Which I think is accurate.
That's true.
Louise, animal rights activist.
Yeah, no, Louise knew what was up.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting episode because it's a sort of a rare one where Louise is turning on the siblings. They're usually sort of a united front, sometimes against the parents, sometimes against other people. But it's similar to the episode Ambergris from season 4, where Louise sort of goes behind their backs and tries to sell the ambergris that they found on the beach. So I just think that's an interesting reversal of their roles there.
Louise tends to be the most ambitious of the 3 in terms of schemes. They all have wants and desires, and they're all great active characters, but Louise is always the most willing to hatch a plan to get revenge on someone, or enact a multi-stage sort of thing that would set a plot in motion for a TV show. And especially here and in like episodes like Ambergris. And again, this is season 3, so this is early, where Louise still has the sort of like, she's the rebellious one, she's the Bart Simpson, she's the Dennis the Menace, or what have you. That's like the trope we're playing into with Louise. She is willing to, you know, use her family to a point, and if they cross her, then she will get them out of her way until the end of the episode, when she realizes she's made a mistake. This is, you know, similar to Bob learning how to kiss good in the pilot. Louise regrets putting Tina in harm's way by the end of the episode.
Sure, and like I'm sure everyone else has clocked this, but it sometimes, not all the time, Louise's eyes are drawn different sizes. One of them is bigger than the other to give her like that manic look, and sometimes Bob's eyes are like that too.
You know, father-daughter, they both have a sort of mania that they can fall into. Bob has like obsessive and like tendencies, and holds grudges in some episodes too, when he feels like he is having his goat got. What's the episode with like the RC helicopter? There's some episode where Bob...
It's Little Hard Dad.
Little Hard Dad is the name of the episode, where Bob buys a RC helicopter and then it immediately breaks, and he, you know, look at all that sunk cost, he thinks, and he goes about trying to get a refund in the most like boneheaded and stubborn way possible. It's also a good episode.
But yeah, it's good to draw comparisons, I think, between Louise and Bob, because obviously those two have a bond that's different from the others. And I wouldn't say, you know, like Bob has a favorite child, because I think Bob wouldn't say that. But I would say Louise has a favorite parent, and it's Bob.
Yeah, I mean, Louise being the youngest child, and also, you know, like a daughter for Bob, I think that there's the most contrast between them, because on the surface, Bob is like the hardworking blue-collar dad, and Louise is this like incredibly energetic gremlin with pink rabbit ears. Like, her silhouette is not human anymore because she has the rabbit ears on. They have like the furthest distance to close. So when those two have an episode that is a good dynamic for them, it really shows us the heart of the show in a real way, I think.
Sure. I mean, we see a lot of that, like with like Hawk and Chick.
Hawk and Chick, which is an episode about their shared love for old samurai movies, which is also about like a father-daughter team.
And then even when Bob like starts hanging out with Jean more in the episode where they watch the spaghetti western, it's spaghetti western and meatballs. You know, the jealousness that Louise feels about that, because she's the one who watches TV with her dad.
Right. And speaking of the dynamic between Bob and Louise.
Ooh, good segue.
Yeah,
good segue.
Yeah, I thought you were setting me up for it. I was like, wow, Brooke's really serving me a layup here.
I wasn't. I'm sorry. I was just talking.
It's all good. It all works. The next episode I want to talk about is season 6, episode 19, Glued, Where's My Bob? Which all-time great pun title.
The 100th episode.
Yes, the 100th episode in production. It aired like the 100 and like second or third, but it was
we know
they made, which is a big deal, and you can feel that sort of significance in the show. There are a lot of guest stars in this one. Bouchard and team said they wanted this episode to feel like a quintessential like Bob's Burgers episode, and not like a like very special episode. So like an episode that puts the whole show's best foot forward. And what they came up with for the plot of that was Bob is getting a very high profile interview for a restaurant magazine called Coasters Magazine. He gets a hookup from another chef named Skip Maruch, who is played by Kumail Nanjiani, who is just like sort of, you know, if Bob's the everyman, if Bob is like the ego of the mind, Skip is like the super ego. He's like super friendly. He's super successful. He's like a world traveler chef. He's like young and friendly and excited about everything.
Yeah, Skip's whole thing is that he's like the nicest guy.
He is just the nicest guy you've ever met. He's a great character. I mean, Kumail Nanjiani really sells that in his performance. But Kumail has sent Coasters to do a report on Bob and his restaurant, because Skip loves Bob's food. You know, character's opinion on Bob's cooking ability sort of varies on the show, but Skip is one who really, really, really likes all of Bob's food, so he's doing this favor for him.
Because we've seen Skip before in the episode The Best Burger. I think that's what it's called. I might be wrong. Where they do like a burger cook-off down at the wharf, and Bob is competing against Skip. And Skip wins, but then he comes to try Bob's food because he was so interested in it.
Anyway, so Bob has this big interview, and he's very excited for it. Simultaneously, the kids, mainly Louise and Jean, have been doing a prank war where they are like gooping each other, which is basically just putting substances on things that the other one is going to touch. Like there's like toothpaste on the telephone or like hummus on a door handle. As Bob says, it's just a huge waste of food and hygiene products. That is really all the prank war amounts to. Anyway, Louise has put glue on their toilet, which Bob uses. Louise thought that Gene would be using it because he takes a daily bowel movement at a certain time. He doesn't take it on this episode because he's on I believe, a cheese cleanse is the joke.
Yeah, he's like both spiritually and literally or something like that.
Cheese cleanse. So Bob is glued to the toilet on the day of this big interview because the interview has to be today. So that is our ticking clock, is that these reporters are on the way. Bob has been glued to a toilet, and Louise is terrified that she's ruined her dad's big day. The sort of central thing that happens in this episode is another song, another great musical performance from this show. A song called Bad Things Happen in the Bathroom, where first it is Bob singing.
Bad stuff happens in the bathroom.
Bad stuff happens in the bathroom. Thank you. I'm so sorry. I'm ashamed. The song is called Bad Stuff Happens in the Bathroom. It is Bob singing about, his current situation and how
Bad stuff happens in the bathroom. Mm-hmm. I'm just glad that it happens in a vacuum. Oh, it's so good.
It's very, very good. He sings about, staying positive and still hoping that when they sort of get him off the toilet, he'll have a great day and it'll be a wonderful time for everyone. Simultaneously, Louise is singing the other half of this duet where she is trying to, deny her plausibility in this.
Let's be clear. I did absolutely nothing wrong. I'm not to blame. It's not my fault.
And it is,
so good.
Season 3 Louise would probably genuinely believe that she did nothing wrong. But here, and this is early in the episode, we are seeing Louise, in a rare occurrence for the show, express regret before the end of an episode. Louise is terrified by this. Louise is really, really worried that she's hurt her dad in a real, tangible way. In the song, she sings about getting him out, and then she has a dream sequence vision of her dad picking her up and throwing her up in the air while a banner behind reads "Louise did nothing wrong." And it's a really childish way to think of it, but also a really genuine thing of oh God, I hope I didn't do something mean to my dad. So when I watched it for this show and they get to that part and they're singing, H. John Benjamin and Kristen Shaw are singing the song about fear but trying to stay positive. Listener, I teared up. Listener, tears were in my eyes, and I cried a little bit at Bob's Burgers, and I don't know why. I don't know what happened, but it is just a really
You doing okay, buddy?
Moment.
You doing all right in life?
Listen, this whole podcast has been a sham. Brooke is a licensed psychotherapist, and she's going to talk to me about why this song hit me so hard. I don't know what it was. It's just a really heartfelt and genuine, shared moment between these two characters.
Yeah. I will say they do a little split screen where for a little while Louise is singing on top and Bob's on bottom, which is very effective.
Mm-hmm. It's visually, the animation in stuff like this, because we mentioned how the character model's animation style is pretty straightforward, but in sequences like this, they really do sort of show their stuff. There's lots of Bob floats up out of the toilet and it's floating up to heaven. And there's the split screen effect. This whole song sequence has a lot of animated flourishes that really sell the emotions that are going on in these characters. Ultimately, Louise tries to bring more people in to help Bob get off the toilet. They try to bring in Teddy, who's a handyman and a carpenter, to see if he can unattach it. Unfortunately, this is is it Swedish? What kind of toilet is it? Some sort of European toilet.
This bathroom was redesigned by Felix Fischoeder in the aforementioned episode Amber Brie. Felix is Mr. Fischoeder's little brother. And he's
played by
done
Zach Galifianakis.
So weird. The bathroom is all black on the inside. The toilet has no seat. So you can't
right. The toilet
detach
is
the
an
seat.
IKEA trash can. It's just a black cylinder.
So there's no way to get Bob off this thing. Yeah, so they're bringing in Teddy. They're bringing in Dr. Yap.
Right. Louise even brings in Dr. Yap, the dentist, who...
Played by Ken Jeong.
Who, in his words, works with solvents and chemicals, so he's a great person to have. Unfortunately, he also is unable to help. His suggestion is to inject Novocaine into Bob's butt and then just tug him real hard like a loose tooth, which is a pretty grim solution.
Oh, it's
and, of
terrible.
course, doesn't work. So there's that, too. As this is happening, more and more people are entering the restaurant because before Bob got glued, they were making preparations for this big interview. So Linda had called over. Who's the friend that Linda called over to? Gretchen.
Gretchen,
to do
also
their
voiced by
hair.
Larry Murphy, who voices Teddy.
Yeah, Gretchen, the neighborhood character, has been called in to do Bob's hair. Jimmy Pesto, who lives across the street and is in the early days of the show Bob's like constant rival for restaurant supremacy. Jimmy Pesto runs a pizza place.
I mean, they carry it out pretty much forever. It's still going.
At the beginning of the show, he seems more like formidable and like his food's good. And as the show go on, we see that Jimmy Pesto is kind of a clown. But you know, an ever-present thorn in the Belcher family side. More recurring characters start piling into the restaurant.
Yeah, you've got like Marshmallow, Mike the Mailman, Edith and Harold, the roller skate guy, Mr. Fischoeder.
Yeah, all of the faces of Wonder Wharf are here for one reason or another as they start piling in, and more people start learning, due to the kids' inability to keep a secret, that Bob is glued to the toilet. Ultimately, the people from Coasters magazine do get there. They do see Bob on the toilet, and they ultimately write a story about him being on the toilet, which ends up being like fairly positive, and Bob does get some success out of this whole sordid ordeal. So again, like the first episode, putting us through a bit of a ringer before ending with a nice emotional moment with them on the Ferris wheel. This episode, the 100th episode, does have a pleasant ending of everything sort of working out, even despite Bob being glued to the toilet during this interview.
It's because of Louise that they decide to write the article. Like, the guys are walking out, and then Louise gives this beautiful monologue that's like, my dad should be in here making burgers. And she says, really good burgers. Don't tell him I said that. And then Gene says, we try not to compliment him, which really made me laugh. But yeah, you know, she really does save the day and turn it all around for them.
Yeah, it's a great way to sew it up, just because this kid really likes her dad so much that they give him a chance. There's a cover of the Bad Stuff Happens at the Bathroom song by The National, who sing Bob's lines, and then Lapsley singing the Louise part. It's good and it's funny to listen to. I will say I think that the sheer like emotional power of the original is better.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree.
There are a number of, if you go on YouTube and look up like Bob's,
and I didn't even cry during it.
Exactly. So what's it worth? If you go on YouTube and look up like Bob's Buskers is the series, I think. It is a series of like animated music videos for covers of songs from the show. The National also cover a song from a Thanksgiving episode. St. Vincent covers a song. Electric Love is on there too. I do not recall the artists who do it. But yeah, it is a star-studded collection of people doing these covers of Bob's Burgers.
But these are all on, I think, the Bob's Burgers album, because they put like an album out of every song that had been sung in the episode up till that point. It hasn't been updated for a few seasons, so some are missing now, obviously. But there's a whole, I mean, it's like hundreds of songs,
of which they are all just like gems. I'm trying to think of one that I like maybe didn't like, but I think that every song on the show really serves a story purpose and is just a real toe-tapping
sure
ditty as well. So
yeah,
that's a great aspect of the show, is the music that I really wanted to make sure we talked about. Because I think that, to go back to Topsy is like Broadway musical excess. Like, this is your 11 o'clock number to close out the show. And then Bad Stuff Happens in the Bathroom. It feels like the National would cover it. It is much more like a recording booth quality, like radio single singer-songwriter sound. And there are all sorts of like different styles they do. There's an episode where Bob and Gene try to go see a laser light show set to a concept album that is basically a parody of Rush's 2112. And they like match the prog rock silliness of that really, really well. What's the name of that episode? Do you remember?
I think that one's called The Lazarinth.
The Lazarinth, which is, I almost picked that one, to be honest, because I would have just talked about prog rock for like 20 minutes. So that's why I didn't. But that is the fun of Glued Where's My Bob.
Yeah, and I just think this episode is great because like we see Bob really start to be successful. Because you're right, sort of at the beginning of the series, and they let this go kind of quickly. It's the question of like whether Bob's Burgers are actually good. But as it goes on, you see people love, you know, he's doing a great job and he deserves to have success because he's making really good food. I think we see that, you know, later on, like in Pro Tiki Con Tiki or Roman Bobaday. Both of those sort of have the, you know, you get the gist that Bob is doing really good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, because when the show begins, it is another down on their luck family premise, and we could easily see a version of the show where the whole time I was like, yeah, these burgers are kind of bad. And then in interviews early in the season, H. John Benjamin was like, I think the burgers are pretty good. I think Bob's a pretty good cook. But Loren Bouchard was quoted as saying that he thought they were kind of not great. Hopefully Loren has changed his mind about his character's cooking ability, as the show has too.
Yeah. I think you can definitely see that in it. Also, it's nice to see the town support Bob because they are all there to laugh at him being on the toilet. But then after Lise gives her speech, they all start chanting, "Toilet Bob! Toilet Bob!"
They really rally behind him. It's great.
Yeah, and he inspires the people of the town, similar to the way he inspires, regular people when we watch it.
Mm-hmm.
That's nice. It's a very nice episode. I really enjoy that one.
Mm-hmm. I was very glad I was able to talk about Glued Where's My Bob with you all today.
Yeah.
So those are our episodes that we wanted to bring up and talk about. Those are sort of our deep dives on Bob's Burgers. So now we're going to take a step back and we're going to express some aspects of the show that we are less thrilled with. This is a segment we're calling The Sketchy Side, where we talk about things we don't necessarily like.
And unfortunately with Bob's Burgers, there is a little bit. And we hope they're doing better, and we're going to talk about the ways that we think they're making improvements. Mm-hmm. But you can't talk about Bob's Burgers without talking about Bob's Burgers' treatment of trans characters on the show. The number one episode that is sort of indicative of this is from season 1. It's Sheesh Cab Bob.
Which is rough, which is not something you should watch if you're going to begin the series. Maybe just skip that one, to be completely honest.
It's not wrong at all to say it's a transphobic episode, like it is. So in this episode, Tina's having a birthday party. Bob's paying for it. He needs extra cash by becoming a cab driver. And he's picking up transgender sex workers. And that in and of itself is not necessarily, a recipe for disaster, but there's a lot of misgendering. They use the word transvestite, which is not great. And there's also a lot of transphobic stereotypes going on with that, within that episode. And all of these women that he's picking up are voiced by cisgender men.
Mm-hmm. One of whom, Marshmallow, it becomes a recurring character. And
Marshmallow isn't picked up.
Oh, is Marshmallow not in this episode?
She is in this episode, but she is not someone that Bob picks up.
Right.
She comes in later.
That's right.
Yeah, and then the character of Marshmallow, that's, I understand people's frustration with that. I'm frustrated with that too. Marshmallow is voiced by David Herman, who plays Mr. Frond, the kid's guidance counselor. So he is a cisgender white man. Marshmallow is a black trans woman. And they don't treat Marshmallow, poorly. She's a bit character though, and, Bob frequently calls her beautiful and stuff. But, there's no representation there for black trans women. Mm-hmm. Which is a problem, obviously. And also, there's not been an episode focusing on Marshmallow. When she obviously has a rich backstory and could come in, as a bigger character.
Mm-hmm. Which, on the one hand, I get that they would maybe be reticent to do it if they knew they could not do a good job. The answer to that, then, is to, consult people and get writers who are trans and black and have experiences. And that way, you will do a good job. But getting the right people to write that and be involved in that narrative.
I will say that it does seem they're making a change with Marshmallow. So some people might remember a few months ago, Loren Bouchard is also working on Central Park, which I believe is going to be on Amazon Prime TV. And on that show, Kristen Bell, who is famous from The Good Place and Veronica Mars and stuff, she was voicing a mixed race character. They changed that so that a mixed race actor would be voicing that. And then someone tweeted back to him, they hope that means that Marshmallow is going to change as well. And Loren Bouchard replied, yes, on it. So there's a hope that this season we're going to get Marshmallow in there and she's going to be voiced by a black trans woman. Which is my hope,
Mine as well.
There's also, the issue on the show is that most major female characters on the show are voiced by men. Mm-hmm. You've got John Roberts voicing Linda, and then Dan Mintz voicing Tina, and even Larry Murphy voicing characters like Edith or Gretchen. Mm-hmm. That's frustrating for me, as a woman who works in entertainment. We can't even get women's voice roles.
Right, for the female characters, for the cis female characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's frustrating. And obviously, like anecdotally, like Dan Mintz and everybody else who is like voicing these characters, they're doing a great job, and I think they're doing like a really emblematic
Sure,
and
sure.
iconic job. But the principle of the thing is still the problem that it is, and I think that. So full disclosure, I'm a non-binary person, and I think the notion of like having these characters voiced by male gendered people and giving them these voices that in themselves are not a joke. I think the first time you watch an episode of Bob's Burgers, you might like clock that like Linda and Tina have more masculine voices, but it goes away pretty quickly, and that's never the point of the joke. It's never a joke that like, haha, man doing girl voice is not what they're ever doing. So in a way, it's interesting because it's sort of showing that gender is in some ways performative, and in some ways, gender is sort of like in the mouth of the speaker and in the mind of the body that for each individual. But that does not discount the fact that, like Brooke said, these are cis men playing cis female roles, and it's not a trans narrative, and it's not really a gender narrative. I'm analyzing something that to an extent is not in the text at all, and I'm like looking for some way to spin this in a more interesting way. And of course, all this to say also that their handling of gender and like non-binary identity and trans identity has also not been ideal in the stuff with like Shish Kebab and Marshmallow.
Yeah, definitely. In relation to getting more female voice actors on the show, so at the Bob's Burgers Comic-Con panel in 2018, Loren Bouchard said that they were aware that they have a predominantly male gender imbalance amongst the voice actors. They said they are striving to do better, to have a balance, and he said that one of the driving factors behind this was that Kristen Shaw, who voices Louise and is the only female voice actor in the main cast, was reprimanding them on the issue. So I like to think, the hopeful part of me wants to think like, well, this hopefully says something about the work environment, that it's a place where when you do feel uncomfortable with something, you feel like you can speak up and say, we need to change this.
Yeah, good for Kristen Shaw for speaking up about that.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I think that one of the other ways they could continue to improve this is also like one, do the inverse of like having more male characters voiced by like cis women, and then but that is also still like reinforcing a binary to an extent. So they could also, and like most shows could also include characters with different gender identities and really improve representation that way, and also casting voice actors that have that identity too.
Yeah.
That sort of goes for every show we talk about for a while, I'm guessing. That'll be a note.
Sure, yeah. It's not like Bob's is the only show doing this, but I will say personally, I hold Bob's to a higher standard because I love it so much. So there are some things, I'd like to see in the future. I'm sure some things you'd like to see in the future. I'd love to see them hire a trans woman for the writing staff. I think that would make a huge difference in the way that the stories are told, and I think that would be great. And I'd love to see an episode like with Marshmallow as part of, the Bob Burgers family scheme of the day, I'd like her to be able to come in there and like, so we see more of a character that people do love. And it is also a character that they use like in their Pride marketing.
Which,
so if you're going to do that, I think then, give her something to do.
Yeah. Because that is like textbook like tokenism of like, hey, look, we have someone different, and what are we doing with them? Not much, but yeah.
Because Marshmallow's cool, I want to see Marshmallow.
I want Marshmallow to be cool. Marshmallow, like the signifier, brings so much baggage with it that I can't really enjoy Marshmallow whenever they're on screen because I'm thinking of everything that's going on behind the scenes.
I gotcha. Yeah. So I hope Marshmallow's recast. It seems that that's going to happen, and I hope Marshmallow gets to be on here doing stuff and giving representation.
That would be good.
And I also like to see more women, though I will say this is something I have noticed they are doing better on, especially with their guest stars. We talked about Jillian Bell coming in as Nat. She's been a recurring guest star in several episodes. Someone like Megan Mullally playing Gail. She's in there a lot. And then this season we saw Nat's ex-girlfriend, voiced by Akilah Hughes, who is one of my favorite people to follow on Twitter. She's so funny. And I was so glad she was on there. And then Brooke Dillman comes in and does tons of voices. Like she's like Jean's friend, Alex's mom. And then the lady who drives the smoothie truck and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, anything they can do to like build out the ensemble with more diverse voices and more like varied voices is a good step.
Yeah, definitely.
So we are now leaving the sketchy side of things. Thank you for joining us there. And now, Brooke, would you like to tell us about what's coming next?
Oh
This
my
next
gosh.
segment.
I'm so excited because it's time for rapid fire questions. Ryan, are you ready?
Am I? Let's find out. Okay, I think
All
I'm
right.
ready.
Here we go. Ready? Favorite character?
Tina?
Favorite episode?
Probably Topsy.
Least favorite character?
Mr. Front, not a fan.
Ah,
Mr. Front, the guidance counselor. An episode was never better for his involvement.
Sad. Teddy or Mort?
I think Teddy. I think I gotta go with Teddy.
Okay, Jimmy Jr. or Josh, the dancer boy?
Jimmy Jr. Is a great character.
Oh my gosh.
There's some debate here,
Whatever.
I see.
Favorite holiday episode?
The Thanksgiving one where Bob's sleepwalking.
Oh, turkey in a can.
Turkey in a can.
Make up a burger of the day.
Oh no. Oh gosh, what is a good food? I'm looking around my room like I have food here.
Oh, I have one. I thought of it last night. Do you want your mine?
Cola me by your name burger comes with a free glass of Coca-Cola.
That's good. That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Would you like to hear mine?
I would love to.
Mine was the Hit Brie Baby One More Time. It comes with brie cheese and thyme, like the herb.
That's 2 puns. That's good.
Yeah, I thought of it last night. They might have already done it, and then I'll feel stupid because then that means I just read it. And
Brooke's a genius.
Okay, they're my rapid fire questions.
Wonderful.
Thank you for indulging me.
Okay. What about you? Who's your favorite character?
Oh, my favorite character, Jean.
Favorite episode?
The Jean Mile.
Least favorite character?
Ooh, I don't know. Oh my gosh. I hate the guy who's the TV announcer who like gets in a feud with Bob.
Oh, that guy. Mm-hmm.
I hate
his
him.
name, but he's in the Best Burger episode, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he's in Family Fracas.
Ah, that's right. Jimmy Jr. or Josh?
Josh. He's voiced by Ben Schwartz, who I have such a crush on.
Teddy or Mort?
Teddy.
Teddy solidarity in this household.
Mm-hmm.
What did you ask any other questions? You already said your burger of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Favorite holiday episode. My favorite holiday episode. Honestly, it's probably The Bleakening, which is a 2-part Christmas episode.
Another great song in that episode.
Mm-hmm. The Bleakin is coming as fast as he can, ruining Christmas like he don't give a damn.
The Bleakin is like a Krampus-esque anti-Santa, right?
Yeah.
That's right.
It's so funny.
Wonderful. Okay, so that was
Thank you for indulging me.
Thank you for the rapid fire questions. So we have some final thoughts now. Listeners, we've had a great time here at the Nation of Animation. What if we called the listeners Nation? Because it's Nation of Animation. So it's like, Nation, thanks for joining us today. It's like a fireside chats thing.
Yeah, do it.
Nation, we've had a lot of fun here today talking about Bob's Burgers. So now we're going to share some final thoughts or experiences or themes, sort of sum up our thoughts on this show. Brooke, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I mean, I said at the beginning, it's one of my very favorite shows on television now, or that's ever been on television. The humor and just the family. And also, I just love that it's about doing something you love and are passionate about. Because Bob's not making shit at this job, you know? They're poor as fuck. Mm-hmm. And he's doing it because he loves it. And the family loves supporting him because they genuinely love him.
Mm-hmm. That's one thing that I really appreciate the show, that I really appreciate about the show is it's like working class DNA, because like you said, Bob is not really raking it in here at this burger joint. They're constantly behind on rent. So many episodes like hinge on how tight money is in the Belcher household. That's what makes like The Ring But Not Scary such a big deal. That's a lot of money that they're losing in a water park. And I think the show's willingness to show class and show like how tight things can be when you don't have a ton of liquid cash flow, but still show that is not like anything to be ashamed of or frustrated, or it's not to be frustrated by, for sure, because Mr. Fischoeder is exploiting them, and Bob's labor is not appreciated, but it is not something to be ashamed of or not get fulfillment out of your life with. Like you said, like Bob loves cooking, and Bob loves like making these burgers, and his family loves him, and they all love each other. And it is like a really nice look at that kind of life that doesn't get a ton of like sincere, like actual focus in pop culture a lot, I don't think.
Yeah. And I'm super excited. Season 11 has just started. And that's really exciting to get a new season of Bob's. And especially now, like when the world feels very hopeless sometimes, it's like, oh, well, I can find a little hope with the Belchers.
There's more Bob's Burgers. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that caused us to want to make the show was to talk about animation and how, like, in our current situation in 2020, the year of our Lord 2020, in this time where a lot of us are staying home and staying away from each other, Brooke and I both come from a theater background, and we obviously can't do that right now. And a lot of like television production is hemmed up or held up by new regulations, which are good. There should be regulations, but the fun thing about animation is that it is still kind of able to happen unimpeded by whatever is happening in reality. Obviously, the labor conditions of which they're making the show are probably different. People are probably animating from home, but the finished product feels the same quintessential show that it did before all this changed.
So besides animation right now, Ryan, give me one other thing that you're interested in right now.
I am interested in, I was going to say like dogs. I mean, dogs are great. If you're looking to get a dog, like look at a shelter, don't go from a breeder. But that's not going to be my world of recommendation. Maybe it should be. No, I'm really into, I've been playing a lot of video games lately. I know that, if you are a gamer, you know that, well, depending on when this releases, either the PlayStation 5 is about to come out or has come out already. Either way, I've been playing a lot of games. I recently started replaying this game called Horizon Zero Dawn, which came out in 2017. It's like an open world adventure game in the far future where you are this cool redheaded girl named Aloy who like shoots a bow and arrow real good, and there are robot dinosaurs all over the place, and you are just like running around this far post-apocalyptic like Midwest, and just jumping all over the place and exploring this really vivid, cool world. I highly recommend it. Brooke, what real world things are you enjoying right now?
I've been crocheting a lot, so I've made a lot of hats.
Nice. Great. Wonderful. Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. This has been the Nation of Animation. Before we go, we'd like to shout out a few things.
Yes. Pink News writes great articles on Bob's representation of trans characters. Lily Wakefield wrote a great one on the treatment of Marshmallow. That was a great read, so definitely look that up and read that.
Absolutely. Also, we want to give a quick shout out to Urvashi Lele for our show art and Jacob Menke for our show theme. And Brooke, where can the nation find you online?
On the internet, you can find me on Twitter at @TheBrookeSmith.
Great. You can find me on Twitter at RyanWithCheese. Until next time, do we have a good sign off, you think, for the nation? The state of animation is strong.
That's pretty
okay,
good.
We'll take it from there. I don't know if I love how like nationalist this podcast has become in a single episode, but we'll keep an eye on it, I guess. The state of animation is strong.
Bye.
Nation of Animation is hosted by Ryan Stevens and Brooke Aaron Smith and produced by Danny Mendoza. Our show art is by Urvashi Lele, and our theme music is by Jacob Menke. Be sure to follow us at Cartoon Book Club on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks for listening.